Twisted Christian. I wanted to discuss because I saw a video on the Kim Clement YouTube channel, and he talked about the prophecy about New York and America, no financial crash. All right, so I watched the video and I began to think, because we all expect some type of crash coming, right? Maybe it's not necessarily so much of a crash. In just doing a little bit of research and looking at definitions, what's defined as a stock market crash, and there are actually various different things that have happened over time, and they labeled it something different. So when we talk about the Dow going back down past 20,000, are we expecting a stock market crash, or are we expecting a correction? And is this something that maybe happened over time because we are thinking that it's going to crash in one day or 2 days? We talked about Kim Clement's banking crash, right? And if you go over the Dow and you look at all the companies of the Dow, and there's really only a few banks and a few credit card institutions and maybe some other things. And we know that some of the market is being propped up by the Federal Reserve, right? So we know that there's a correction coming. Now, whether or not the stock market crashes where it drops down to a certain point all in one day, in order for that to happen, you would have to have a mass sell-off. But I'm going to go ahead and share with you what Kim Clement said about no financial crash.
For many that have cried out, and said, God will destroy this nation. The Spirit says, may I remind you, the covenant that I made with this nation is immutable, is unchangeable. Do not forget the antiquity of the covenant that I made with this nation. Yes, they will be judged for the evil that they do, but can I take away a blessing that I have already imposed upon them? That I created and spoke before the world began, that I created and spoke over this nation to feed the world, to heal the earth. God says, yes, judgment will come, but it shall not come at this time in the fashion that they have spoken. They have said, there shall be a crash and America shall be crippled. God said, not at this time, not at this time, for I have raised you up for a season. And there shall be 7 years where I will take you out of your besiegement. You have been besieged for 7 years, America. You have been surrounded by your internal enemies. Haters of America have stood up. And then they have said, there are those in the church that are anti-Israel. I say to you that there are many, but there are many more that are in the church that are anti-America and anti what I am going to do in this nation. I will give you a president that shall bring some ease to your debt challenges, and I will take the wealth of the wicked and for a season transfer it into the hands of the righteous and those who have given and poured out their blessing into my land and to my people, says the Lord.
Amen. Okay, folks. So if you want to go watch the whole entire thing, you can go back to their website on YouTube or their channel on YouTube and check out that video. But so he said there's not going to be any financial crash, and there's a lot of talk out there about the devaluation of the dollar. I've shared the articles, and there's a lot of different people talking about it, about the value of the dollar that's going to go down to maybe even 80%, devalue 80%. And I've shared with you that I don't think that if any kind of correction comes, and I've told you folks, if any kind of devaluation comes, it's only for a short period of time. And it may be related in going over to the new system. What are we really looking at? So there are several things. We've talked about Kim Clement Dow at 20,000, right? And I put out a theory that maybe we will see the Dow exactly at 20,000, and that would be the signal that the dinar RV is getting ready to take place. Right? That is one theory, because we've seen the Dow go past it, go below it, go back above it, So, and it's all relating to the dinar. So, are we really going to see a crash? And right here, it says that just to kind of give you guys some definitions, what is a stock market crash? When comparing a correction versus crash, an important difference emerges. While a correction is defined by the percentage of the drop, a crash is not associated with a specific percentage of a decline. A stock market crash is instead defined as a sudden, sharp drop in prices. A stock market correction is a 10% decline in the price of an individual stock or index from its 52-week high. Market corrections are often results of widespread market uncertainty as well as falling investor confidence. Corrections can occur over days, weeks, and months. It's healthy for a market to have corrections of 5 to 10%. This is to prevent markets from being overpriced. So folks, you do see a difference between correction, and for the Dow to fall from where it's at now, say 27,000, and maybe it drops fast, or maybe it declines slowly. So as long as I've been in the dinar valuation, as long as I've purchased dinar and followed what has been going on with the dinar, one of the things is, of course, we've always heard that there's always going to be some type of an event that's going to lead to a stock market crash, an event that's going to bring down the economy, and then everything's going to change. And there's a lot of talk about devaluation and just a lot of other stuff right now. But after listening to the video and just begin to think, like I said, Dow at 20,000. I mean, wouldn't that be crazy if, or at the end of the day, the Dow closed at 20,000? So that's just a theory of mine. But from where the Dow's at now, and it in a single day dropping, wouldn't necessarily consider it a stock market crash, depending on how long the markets are down for. You could have a single day crash and then it recover and start to recover quickly. And I think we've seen that with the Dow, where it went up and then it came back down and it started going. It's just going back and forth. So, and this is why you do the research, so you can. So when you're listening, and this is for myself too, thinking about what type of crash that it could be, even with the banking system. Even if the banking system falls, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to pull the entire market down, and we're going to see the Dow at 8 or 9,000. So this article here is just a comparison how the current stock market collapse compares with others in history. It just goes over each one of the major declines in the stock market. The panic in 1901, where it dropped over a period of a few months, almost 11%, and it had a single day drop of 6%. The panic in 1907, a total of a decline over a 10-month period, and a single day drop of 8.3%. So some of these are not called crashes. Now you have the Wall Street crash of 1929, 46.6%, and a single day loss of 12.8%. Okay, and this was what gave way to the Great Depression. Right? Then you have the recession of 1937 and 1938, so a 42.6% decline. You had the tech stock crash of 1970, single day of 3.1%. This lasted over a month, and this really affected tech companies. It says here, Ross Perot Electronic Data Systems lost 85% of its value. 1973, 1974 stock market crash, and that's what they actually called it. Negative 45.1% from January 1973 to December of 1974. A single day decline of 3.5%. So this also has to do with, during that time period, the Watergate, you had the OPEC oil embargo. Then you had Black Monday, and it declined 22.6% on one day. And it says that it took over 2 years for basically to get back up to that point. And that was in 1987. It talks about invasion of Kuwait, the dot-com bubble, the Lehman Brothers. That happened in a decline of 53.7% from October 9, 2007 to March 9th of 2009. Single day of 4.6% loss. So that one was pretty big. So, but these things did not happen. Some of these did not happen over a single day. And I think that maybe we've kind of this whole thing about stock market crash, and just from listening to that, is going to be more of a massive correction if it gets down to that point. Because, folks, I don't know how everything is going to play out. I'm just giving you my opinions and my thoughts. So, seeing that and looking at over that information, I'm not looking for either we're going to have a single day dip, that goes that way, or something that's going to happen over a short period of time, or something that's going to happen over a couple weeks where we see declines. And I've said, with the election coming up, a lot of people don't want him to be president. Maybe people start, with the media and these wealthy people who don't want certain information to come out. They don't want him to be president. There's a lot of things that can happen. So all that remains to be seen. But I just wanted to get that out there so we have a better understanding now of the difference of when we're looking for some type of stock market decline. So I'm not even going to call it a crash. It could be. They mostly consider a crash a single day event, a single event over a 2-3 day period. But everything that this economy has gone through, it's risen up even further, right? Then it hit it was like only 400 something points away from hitting 30,000. So I look at the Dow Jones companies, and we talk about the Dow maybe getting back down to 20,000. Now, of course, that would definitely take, in order for that to really happen, you'd have to really definitely shave off 10% off of every company. But when you look at the banks, there's not very many banks, or even like you have American Express, you have Visa, then you have a few holding companies. You have J.P. Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs. So even if, those banking companies, if all the banks crash, it really doesn't really have an effect on the stock market as far as even if each one of those, including the credit card companies, even if they all went down to $10 a share, it's not gonna push the Dow down to 20,000. But it's going to take a little bit more of a collective effort. Of course, if the banks fail, you're going to see a decline in the stock market. So just looking at that and seeing I do see Apple, even if Apple doesn't do as well, they went through the reverse split. And there's a lot of people that invested a lot of money into Apple when before it did its reverse split. And a lot of people are really shaking their heads and they're upset with what's going on with Apple right now. And some of these companies, I just don't see, unless people are not spending money at all, like Home Depot, you have the technology stocks. And it's going to take a lot to really maybe get that down to 20,000, since we already know the Federal Reserve is also, too, pumping up the stock market. So I just wanted to throw that out there and just maybe to get you guys thinking about the whole getting back down to 20,000 and whether or not if we're going to get there in one day or we're going to get there over a period of time. And as we get closer to the election, what kind of moves are people going to start making as far as the stock market? And it's going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I've seen that, and maybe we're not going to see the crash that we think. We might see a decline to that point. Right? Or we might see a sharp decline over one day. And maybe that's when things seem at their worst. And I've discussed that before, folks, about when things seem at their worst because of the media. I mean, when you really look at it, when you look up the amount of people that are in this world and how many cases there are total, and then you compare the deaths, and then you look at the United States, how many people are in the United States and how many total cases. When you really think about it in the totality of it and how we've shut down the entire economy, it's amazing. And that we still haven't got this economy fully gone back up. The small businesses in this country have been gutted out. And with certain events coming up, you're going to see more of that. Maybe I'll explain that in another video. Anyways, folks, I thank you for listening. If you guys have comments about any of that, please let me know. I have another video coming I have a dinar RV global currency update that I want to put out. So that video will come up after this one. Thank you, folks, for your support. If you guys do like these videos, the support links are down below in the description of our Patreon. And with that being said, Twitch Christian out.